and welcome to the Confusion Wrestling Podcast, the last bastion of independent wrestling. I'm Rob Kammer, sitting in with my producer, Affogato, just figuring out what we're going to talk about today, but luckily, we don't have to talk about anything, because everything's all well and good. Tape in hand, if you will. I sat down with East Coast adjacent independent standout Rullo. First became aware of him through the Prodigy Cup at Power Pro Lucha Libre. So it was a really big matchup that he got to take part in for the new cup holder. So we get to sit down and talk about his career in professional wrestling, from training and just whatever else comes to our mind at the moment. We are kind of all over the place in the best way possible as far as I'm concerned. So let's just go ahead and get down to that talk with Rullo. So in the meanwhile, we got to pay the coffers. So grab yourself a coffee, grab yourself an energy drink, grab yourself a whole gosh darn coffee maker, and we'll be back un momento with Rullo. Hey folks, the Confusion Wrestling Podcast has become a veritable hub of shopping and treats and all that sort of good stuff. Whether you need a sugar-free alternative to energy drinks in the form of Raise Energy, or maybe even, top-of-the-line ice makers, coffee machines, and other household appliances, all through my links section. All you got to do is wander down to the descriptor of this week's episode, check out the various links, click on them, and go shopping like you normally would. Heck, it's no difference. You just came in and just said Rob sent you. And that way, you can get the things you need, maybe even at a discount, and the podcast gets a kickback as well. So be sure to check out those links. Thank you very much for listening. Back to the show. And we're back, ladies and gentlemen, the Confusion Wrestling Podcast. As I said at the very start of the show, special guest sitting in the studio with me this week. You've seen him on WTV, you've still seen him on Triller TV, and if you're lucky out east, you've got to see him in person. It is Rullo. Rullo, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. I'm fighting my allergies right now.
Oh, me too. I was doing fine. I know, weird sidebar to start the party off, but just as I set up the computer, I started draining down the back of my throat, and I feel gross. And I'll just pretend my voice is going to hold out the entirety of, the rest of the day in general. But
it actually sucks, man. It's terrible.
And I'm out in the Midwest, so I have a whole season and a half left of dealing with this thing, and I'm also an irresponsible adult and didn't take my my allergy pills this morning too. So
neither have I.
First world problems. That's what I'm calling it, though.
Yeah.
But we're not complaining about the weather or allergies, which are two large topics on the show usually. I usually start things off with the always original, never before asked question. What made you a fan of professional wrestling? What got you into the sport?
What I remember vaguely is that it was probably 2009, and my cousin got SmackDown vs. Raw 2010 for his birthday. And I didn't to me, I didn't even know what wrestling was. I didn't know it existed. So we just played the game, and they told me that this was also a thing that was done in real life, which to me was crazy, because the games are so are so crazy or whatever. So when I found out that it's a real TV show and you can watch it, I started watching every week, and then I kind of just never looked back from there.
Yeah. I love the video game answers. So I asked, was there any wrestler that you were drawn to in game that was your main character?
I played as Mark Henry a lot for some reason. I guess because when I'm a kid, I was scrolling through the characters, and he seemed like the biggest and the baddest and the strongest. So I was I would play as him a lot of the time.
Oh, that's fair. And then, once the games started getting weight detection in, if you were kind of a casual gamer who was just in it to win matches, the big guys were usually a way to go, because it was harder to do things to them. And I'm having problems getting things out of my mouth today. I was a big fan of despite watching wrestling, being Kevin Nash in the early SmackDown games, because they didn't have special big guy counters, so you just act like your back got hurt trying to do lifts and whatnot.
Yeah.
So being Kevin Nash was fun, and then his moveset was also just chucking people around too. So that was always a good time for me as well. But so you coming into around 2010, 2011. So like, what wrestling were you a WWE guy coming into
When I
things, or did
Yeah, I mean, like when I first started, because I was like so young, I was watching like Raw and SmackDown every week. Eventually, going into like 2012, I started getting big into like TNA, because I was watching like wrestling videos on YouTube all the time, and AJ Styles was like a big guy I got into like through seeing his like tribute videos, and I found out that was when I learned that there was other wrestling other than WWE, like around like 2011 or whatever. So I discovered AJ Styles and figured out he was in TNA, and then I figured out TNA was also on TV, so I started watching TNA every week. And through extension by that, you see guys who are on TNA who like are also doing indies or are also wrestling in Japan. And then I started like that's when I really started venturing off into other stuff as well.
right on? And like that was kind of a period where TNA was getting kind of hot again. They've, I mean, obviously stopped started all around, and I mean, we can't go wrong watching AJ Styles. But you're kind of, at least indirectly, kind of a hotbed wrestling area, so that you got to see, if you went to the indies, seeing all sorts of like crazy guys coming through that have either A, just had a cup of coffee in the big leagues, or B, would come through, get call go to TNA, go to WWE, and now AEW, from that area as well. So it's cool. So going from a fan, what like made you decide you were going to cross the guardrail and do this for a living?
I don't know. I feel like every wrestling fan that really gets into it always has that how do I say it? Like you always have that irrational thought of like I'm gonna be a wrestler. Like when you're a kid, you're really into it, and then some people like go off and like do real jobs, and some of us don't. And that's kind of what it comes down to. Like when I was a kid, I was always like me and my cousins and my friends. We'd have like matches on the trampoline in the backyard and all that shit. Like I was doing that shit all the time. Obviously, I didn't know what I was doing, but like it was like my biggest thing when I was a kid was like just like wrestling, whether it be like video games or just like fucking jumping off fucking ladders on the trampoline. And we had like a little basement wrestling federation when I was like 12. That was fun. And so like I was just always enthralled by it. And then eventually, when I got old enough, I was like, I've got to at least try it. And because I figured like if I didn't at least try it, when I'm a really really like down the line, I'm like 40, 50 years old, I'm gonna like regret not at least giving it a shot. So that's kind of like what led me to getting into it. It was just the thought process of like I at least have to try it. And plus, like it was like the one true hobby I never fell out of. I was always into it.
Oh, so you were one of the rare ones that like usually like when kids like hit, I don't know, high school, they kind of, I don't know, drop out of it for a wee bit. Not too many of us running around that like went like straight through from childhood to adulthood and keeping that passion. Though I admit, like I fell out partially just because college we didn't have cable, and so I couldn't keep up on Raw, SmackDown, and TNA. TNA was just starting at that time because I'm old. Um, but like I kept up on the news, but couldn't. I had, like went through like 3 years where I couldn't watch it because of college,
Yeah.
or that's my excuse. But so I have to ask, since you're doing kind of the backyard and trampoline wrestling, did you ever like watch the old? Well, they're just called backyard wrestling tapes from like the
Oh
late.
yeah. Yeah. Growing up, I was watching. That's like I would watch all those like backyard. Like a lot of like backyard wrestling, just like trampoline wrestling and shit as a kid because it was so like appealing to me. I was kind of like a I don't know, like even though I was an introverted kid, I was also a very like active kid in the sense of like I just liked doing stupid bullshit. So like whether it be like finding things to jump off of or like whatever with my friends. So like to me, wrestling had like and it still does, like all the things I find appealing in media is all combined into one little thing. I've always enjoyed like performance art and stuff. Like I was an actor in high school and stuff, and just being able and you're growing up and you love guys like Jeff Hardy. Like I loved like watching Jackass and shit. So like to me, all like wrestling has had everything I liked. You know?
I I mean, wrestling is beautiful because if you really look at it, like look for it, like wrestling can be anything that you want it to be. And I know people hate like the circus comparisons, but like really, like it is, because there's everything. If you don't like the people who don't like the trapeze artists, you can find the strongmen. If you don't like the strongmen, you can find the clowns. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like I find it's beautiful like that. But Theater Kid, is there like sidebar on that? Is there any like specific like roles that like were near and dear to you, or any performances in particular that stayed out to you that you've got to participate in?
Well, what I'll say is this: I wouldn't necessarily call myself a theater kid. I mean, I did like
Okay.
I never got to be in any plays or anything because every year
Oh.
when I was gonna be in one, COVID fucking
Oh.
fucked it all up. I was supposed to direct a play, and I actually like casted one senior year, and then COVID canceled it, um, like last minute. But I was like, I was we would do like monologues and stuff throughout high school. Like I did like what did I do? I did Walter White's what was it called? I'm the one who knocks. I did that. I did like if anyone plays video games, Voss's famous monologue in Far Cry 3 where he says the definition of insanity. I did that. So I just took like little. I don't know if I ever did a wrestling promo. I can't. I don't think I. I think I thought of it, but never did. But I just took stuff from mediums that I liked. Like I'm big into like video games and all that shit. So I would always like, and I think that inherently helped me with my character work and promo stuff as well without realizing it.
Oh, I buy that. Like theater wasn't huge in my school because I lived out in a small farming community, but we actually had a speech team. So like I did that instead because like all we had was like in terms of like theater was basically just school musicals, and anyone who's around me knows I'm a terrible singer. But like speech team like was amazing because like they also had a little bit of everything. They had you could do like you could act a little bit, but they obviously they did you did a lot of like public speaking esque exercises, and just like what differed was kind of like the intent of the speech. And like especially as an adult, like I think of like it's more interesting now, just the fact that like this was available, and like it much like wrestling, you could find something kind of like tailored to you if like speaking was your thing. So I fell into radio because evidently that's like talking is like the only thing I'm good at in life. And but like I also dabbled in some other rando speech stuff that we did, but like yeah, it was kind of interesting. I never thought of it like as, especially as a wrestling fan, like never thought of it as like promo work per se. Maybe it's just because the promo, like the speeches were too long to be regular promos or whatnot. But the
Yeah,
interesting thing of looking at it.
yeah, definitely.
But I also think it's interesting that you kind of come in doing we'll call it the backyard stuff, but looking towards the people kind of like who are flying and jumping off of stuff, and then at least if the wrestling bios are correct, you ended up at catch point, which with a batch of people who are not known necessarily for their jumping or flying, especially Drew Gulak, who famously had made like part of his career feet on the ground. um
Yeah.
what was it like going through catch point?
There's a lot of hard work, man. I mean, like I realized if I'm gonna get started, I need to like start where like somewhere that's reputable. And I started at Catch Point before it really was even Catch Point. Like it was just a ring in a warehouse. There wasn't really like any like programs yet or anything. I just saw an ad on Twitter that Wheeler Yuta was training people, and I just showed up. And I was like, at the time, I like wasn't wrestling. I wasn't really exercising, doing any. I was so out of shape, man. I showed up, I threw up. It was terrible.
Oh,
But just being consistent. And then since then, I've gained like 25, 30 pounds of muscle just by working out and being consistent with like training and everything. And you'd be surprised, like, yeah, like I like to fly or whatever, but even though a lot of the coaches don't necessarily do a lot of that, like Drew is like very, very knowledgeable in like lucha and like high
yeah.
flying and basing and all that. Like he might not do it, but he like weirdly like understands like the technique of all of it. Like there's been a lot of like things that flying wise I didn't know how to do, or like maybe some sort of springboard, and he explained it step by step, and I learned how to do it. Even though he doesn't like do it, he just understands some. So I don't understand, but he does. And I've learned a lot through like guys like Tracy Williams and Nate Wallace and Kurt Robinson, just through different like Nate taught me how to sell. Tracy teaches me a lot of like technique stuff. Kurt Robinson is kind of like generally all arounder, like in terms of like what he's taught me and like in terms of wrestling. And then recently I've been training with Layla Hirsch. We've been doing a lot of like chain and stuff, and it's been really fun. So overall, it's been great, man. I love it. I'm very thankful that it came into my life when it did.
Oh, that's fair. And kind of like to your point, like I like it like you don't, and like my phrasing of like Drew Gulak, especially like being not like anti-flying, like is a misnomer because he, as you said, he knows a lot of lucha. He trained like partially lucha style as under Mike Quackenbush, and as did
Mm,
Tracy Williams and Yuta
yeah,
and whatnot. So like they may not be known for it, but they like even if you don't fly, if you learn to work lucha, you at least know I guess we'll say how to set up people who are going to fly or catch people who are flying if necessary, be in the right spots and whatnot. So
yeah,
that that is fair. Um, but you come into like I am fascinated by the fact you said you can't come into came into school or training woefully out of shape and not doing anything and just coming right into things. Like that's the one, like one of the things I hear, like as someone who's never gone through the process, I'll out myself as I do repeatedly. But the people talk about like the cardio training being just the absolute worst, like regardless of what kind of shape they're in, and I can't like. It kind of blows my mind that someone just was like, yeah, I didn't really exercise or anything, and I showed up for class. Like,
yeah. It was
how
rough.
how horrible was that to do any of the
It
conditioning stuff?
was
No,
it was terrible. I should have more like prepared. I didn't know what I was getting myself into necessarily,
was
but I should have been more like for like a year, almost a year before that. I was just sitting around my apartment playing video games and like eating food all the time, and like I just wasn't prepared to do that. But I mean, I don't know. Like I'm glad I'm still. I wouldn't change anything, man, because it taught me a lot of discipline. Like it taught me like, oh shit, like I really like this isn't something I can just walk into. I need to be prepared, you know. And yeah, the first few weeks were rough, you know, because I was just still getting into shape and whatever. And the cardio, like you said, it was like really getting to me. But if you have like that heart or whatever, I guess, or that whatever it is you're supposed to have, you just keep pushing through it, you know. Because like the first like 2 or 3 classes, I had to like leave and fucking throw up because I was just so blown up. But you know what I've been training what like 2.5 years later, I feel great, you know. So it's just like if you really want to like when it comes to wrestling, man, if you show up and you're like really out of shape and just not physically prepared, you know, if you just have the heart, man, you'll just keep pushing and you'll just like do it. You know, it's really see if I guess it's really a test to see if you want it. You know,
oh, it's the old adage. What is the old adage? Like paying your dues. Like even if they're not not explicitly trying to blow you up, like you got to be in ring shape. Like it's a lot of work wrestling. Like, and I understand this as someone who's again not trained, not been in a match. So I'm just the idiot telling you how to do your job, mansplaining you. But like there's a lot of work that goes into it, and I respect, especially the guys who are very like I don't know, the guys that are very vocal while also wrestling. So like their wrestling cardio is great to begin with, and then you have like the guys like Mike Sharp who are growling and yelling the entire match too. And like I can barely talk after some cardio, what limited exercise I do. Just the fact that like listen to guys like jaw jack with the crowd for better part of
yeah,
10 minutes while hitting the ropes and all that good stuff is
yeah,
I
yeah, man,
never got
yeah,
off.
yeah. Ring shape is different than like regular good shape. Like they're two totally different things. Like I think a lot of people that get into wrestling or maybe took a lot of time off, like whatever, it's like you kind of like forget that you don't realize that like there's guys that can it's weird I can go both ways. Like somebody told me like someone like I don't know, like there could be a guy who's like you probably could go an hour in the ring and feel fine, but if you try to run a mile, you would like throw up, you know. And that can go both ways to guys who are in shape and try to get into wrestling. You know, like they might be able to run miles and do whatever, but like 3 minutes into a match and they're blown. And that's because I really do like ring shape is just so different, and like you have to learn how to like pace yourself and know when to breathe and know when to slow down and all that. Because I don't know, man, like getting slammed and just like getting right back up and keep going, man, like that'll really like take a lot out of you, you know?
Oh, I think of Jimmy Jacobs is when I hear stories like this. Back when Evolve was first starting out, and they were really hyping up like people's styles and whatnot. They did like they had profiles of everybody on the roster, and one of the things they talked about was like your the training, like like what is your training style, and they wanted just generic genres. And Jimmy Jacobs like wrote like a small paragraph basically of I believe in ring shape, and ring shape isn't exercise. Ring shape is wrestling. So I wrestle as much as I can. You may not look at my body and think I'm in great shape, but I will last longer in the ring than anybody else that I
Yeah.
step in the ring with,
Yeah.
and like,
Yeah. He's right. Yeah. Yeah.
but so kind of like I don't know, fast forward all over the place because I've been surprisingly linear, and that's a rarity on this here podcast. But I do have to, like, before I forget about things, like I do want to like briefly touch on GCW's emo fight night.
Mm.
Like, how, like, I know wrestling is anywhere, anytime kind of thing, and in any sort of theme, but like for a character such as yourself participating in, like, what one GCW is, one of the, one of the top indies in the nation, and then on top of that, kind of like in this kind of themed event for emo fight night and winning your scramble, like what was that experience like for you?
Yeah. I mean, it was really cool. Like, like looking back on it, it's crazy how early in my career. I think I was like, I hadn't been wrestling for 2 years at that point. Um, so to get to like be a part of that and have like, I mean, it just felt like a lot of things coming at me really fast or whatever. Because I remember I was just laying in bed and I got a DM asking if I wanted to do it, and then John Carlo from AEW, he's the guy who books it. He's like he does a lot of like backstage vignettes and stuff and videography, and he came down to Catch Point. We filmed the whole vignette for it, which is really cool. And like it's just I was very thankful for that because like I don't know, man, how many people get to say they get to do something like that where it's like a show centered around your character and like have your own little presentation or whatever. I it's cool. I try not to think about it too much because I don't want to get I don't know. I don't want that to be like I want to do more. You know what I mean? But it is cool. I got to wrestle like Kevin Koo in that, which is a guy who I still want to. Him and Dominic is a tag match I want to run. But overall, man, it was a really cool experience. I had some of my friends there and then shit. It was I had a lot of fun, and I'm very thankful for that. You know.
But yeah, I thought that was just like interesting that they had emo night, and then just as I'm doing, like, I have not actually watched the event live, but what I call my doing my research of like just pouring over match results and this and that, I'm just like, huh, well, that's interesting, and then like, oh, and I'm just adding layers of this onion. Um, but using Kevin Koo and then by proxy Dominic Guarini, Violence is Forever is kind of a segue. Um, I don't know, like we could play Dream Match, especially. I mean, okay, they're east, they're well, they wrestle anywhere, but like they do a lot of stuff out east in the Philly and Pittsburgh areas, and
Yeah.
then Dominic's obviously Ohio as well. But Power Pro Lucha Libre has brought in Violence is Forever a time or two, so is
Yeah.
there is there something where we can preemptively like pitch for Dolphin Funeral and Violence is Forever into
Yeah, I
that?
mean, look, listen, I don't like teaming with Julesy. I can't stand it. But if I get to do that, I will. I'll do it. I'll happily. I will team with Julesy if I get to team. If I get to wrestle, Violence is Forever. As much as I can stand teaming with them, I think wrestling those guys would make it worth it. It's just like I don't know, man. There's not a lot of guys on the indies. To be honest, where I just see them like I really want to wrestle those guys. But there are some of the few that I really do. So I think I love their style and everything. And I love how they just hit hard and and they're cool as shit. So I want to wrestle those guys, man. And there's not a lot of guys in Indies who I really feel like really strongly that I want to wrestle, but those guys I definitely do.
Well, and that's fair. That way we can skip the whole like Mount Rushmore or of like who do you want to fight within the next 5 years or whatever, or all the other lame podcast questions, and stick to the cool stuff. But I
I
love
never, I
Violence is
never,
Forever.
I never liked Mount Rushmore questions anyway. Like you'll see those interviews, people will be like, "What's your Mount Rushmore of like wrestlers?" And it's like one, like like Mount Rushmore are the best wrestlers. I'm like, dude, one, like there's so many different eras and genres of wrestling that like you can't fucking combine it into four. That's crazy. And then everyone's answer is the same anyway. So it's go like The
There,
Rock, Stone Cold, like Cena. Like everyone's answer is the same. Like you know,
that's my complaint is and like I'm guilty of this too because I've done rounds and they're like, oh, well, top whatever, and no, that's the part I hate is everyone just picks, which I mean is rightfully so at a certain level. It picks like the top, the kind of like the four biggest straws of the industry, and like that's boring, and like you're unless you have like a crazy argument for, I don't know, Stone Cold, which why would you even give the crazy argument because it's Stone Cold, like enough said. But like no one wants to just like randomly put, say, like Riddick Moss on your Mount
Mm,
Rushmore for any reason, or just some like rando stuff. Like that's kind
yeah.
of like I
If you want to,
sandbag
yeah,
these.
yeah. Like, if you want to do this, you have to break it down to like what's the Mount Rushmore of this era? Like, what's the Mount Rushmore of this style and the span of years? But you can't just do it like you know what I mean forever because it's impossible.
Oh, exactly. And I don't know. I've just started like sandbagging the questions and just like throw in like Stevie Richards in there just to see what the host like
Mm,
does and see if that actually like like furthers conversation, or if they
yeah.
just go like, "You're an idiot. Nobody likes Stevie Richards," and hopes
I
I
don't.
move on.
I do not like Steve Richards. I do not. Like, I think that guy's an idiot. But
I
whatever.
mean, don't get me wrong. Like his podcasting career is doing a lot for me to like roll my eyes and move along. But man,
Yeah.
BWO, Dancing Stevie Richards, RTC. Yeah, this is teenage. This is teenager Rob's like
Yeah.
love. But no, I agree. Like it's why like yes, I always start with like, oh, why, what got you into wrestling, and like those lame questions for the most part. But like I'm not gonna ask like a Mount Rushmore unless like somehow we natural like somehow it to conversation
Sure.
turns that way anyway.
Sure.
But because Lord knows like it's hard to like
Yeah. I'll
sidebar.
probably get asked that question quite a lot in the
Oh,
future. So
yeah, if I would prepare for, how'd you get into the business? Who do you want to wrestle? What's your Mount Rushmore? And where do you want to see yourself go in your career at the end of the day? Like those are going
yeah.
to be the things
Yeah.
that,
Yeah. Sure.
as someone who's done at this point, 100+ interviews, like,
Yeah.
and by proxy, you've listened to at least 5 times as many, just as what I call research and whatever. Yeah, it's just
Mm,
it's hard. It's the same
gotcha.
questions,
Yeah.
but digressing, soapboxes aside on it. But I did want to touch on Power Pro Lucha because you've kind of made your main show debut as part of the Prodigy Cup, which has been kind of like the workhorse like showcase kind of matches throughout the company's history. And so like, and I know you've kind of done some work for them that didn't make the main card. Like, so how big was it for you to finally make the main card as in the form of the Prodigy Cup?
Yeah. I mean, it was cool. Like I like with all the talk of like all these old timers, taking up main event scenes places to be a part of something where the emphasis is like the young guys is cool because it was I had a fun time. I saw like I just was happy that like it seemed like I had a good showing out in my match. And I think Power Pro is really cool. I love like their venue. I love the guys they bring in and like overall I think it's a pretty cool spot. And I just saw that I was in a four way and I decided to I got to make the most out of this and I feel like I did. I don't know, but I think I did all right. And yeah, I think Power Pro is cool and I would love to keep wrestling there.
I
So
mean, I agree. I mean, of course, I'm biased as the Confusion is sponsored. We'll call it 3 events for them, but Anniversario, I sponsored the entire weekend off of that. But like to boost your ego, or if you'll take that sort of compliment, but like that is how you got on my radar. It was through the Prodigy Cup and the kind of some of the vignettes that came into it, just because you're very much different than everybody else that had popped up, and like some of the folks I'd seen before or they were quasi Power Pro regulars, because I've seen Jules Z a couple times before. Obviously, like they brought in Eric Demia, who's now under a WWE ID contract and has made the rounds or whatever. But it's just kind of like everybody was, I mean, dare I say, like fairly like light bubbly, like let's go rah rah. And then you kind of come along and you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna win this.
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. Yeah, my main goal with my character really like is just to try to be as different as I can, because like that is a lot of like I don't know, man. You go into these things, whatever, like title matches or any match, and like everyone's like, 'cause I don't want to seem like I'm whatever, but like I feel like a lot of these indie promos are like very similar in the sense of like I am the best, I'm number one, look at me, I'm the best. Like that's just everybody, and like I wish like, and what I'm trying to do is like show more vulnerability in these promos. You know what I mean? Especially when like being a babyface. It's like, yeah, I'm not the best, and I don't think I am a lot of the time, but I'm gonna fight, and I'm gonna be as I'm just trying to be vulnerable. Because I just think like that's missing in wrestling. That's why like a guy like Eddie Kingston always appealed to me because there's such a sense of relatability and vulnerability in his promos, and that's something I want to be able to connect people with. Is just being able to relate and show that like yeah, I might not be this like over the top guy who thinks he's the best or whatever, but like I'm gonna show that I'm gonna do a promo and talk about why I have whether it be like my backstory or whatever I can relate to people. It's like it's a different process for every promo, but I just got tired of seeing the same promos about being the best and how you're number one. And like I get like it's wrestling, you have to sell yourself. And I'm not like faulting it or whatever, but it just doesn't appeal to me. I want to be able to relate to people, and I think through wrestling, that's a great way to do it.
Well, and I think, uh, and dare I say, like we are kind of we're trending we're trending back to it, but like for a handful of years, like as much as wrestling is seen as over the top, like I see a lack of what I would call like actual characters in wrestling at a certain level. Like a lot we've gone through a phase where it was very. I don't want to necessarily call it MMA aspired, but a lot of folks were just like, yes, I am legitimate athlete. I am, you know, great. And then do various shades of that. And then like I think that's where like we got folks like kind of like Warhorse and like Danhausen, why kind of like they hit as hard as they did, especially back in the pandemic era, because no one was doing stuff like that. And I think like I mean the best way to stand out in wrestling is not necessarily being the loudest, but it's being the most different. And like it's not a bad thing to show either vulnerability or just they're like let's just be realistic about it. There's not a whole lot of just dark emo kids running around the indie scene either. And if everyone else is back at being like brightly colored, the best way to stand out is being dark
Yeah.
and gloomy.
Yeah, I mean, what I've noticed the most, like to bounce off of what you said, like with me, ever since with my character, when I have fans that come up to me in shows, they never say like, "Hey, this movie did was really cool," or like, really like what you did." It's always like, "Your character is so cool. I love your vibe. I love what you're wearing." Like, it's always about the character and the vibe because that's what people like. That's what people notice the most. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, obviously, I still want to be a great wrestler. Don't get me wrong. Like, but I'm just happy that my character can relate to people because I think the biggest thing with a wrestling character is like when you walk out if people have never seen you when you walk out the curtain, they should know immediately within the first few seconds what your vibe is, what you're going for. Like something that I was taught at training was like you should be able to explain your character in 6 words or less, right? So I go to these shows that I've never wrestled at before, and people immediately what do they chant like hot topic or emo boy or whatever it is. I'm just happy that they get the vibe and they're already invested. I haven't even like gotten wrestled, stepped in the ring yet, and they're already like invested in the character, right? But then you have these guys who like you ask them what their character is, and they have to like try to explain fucking 3 minutes of lore, and I'm like, I'm checked out. Like I shouldn't have to. You don't. That shouldn't be what you should be able to explain your character so briefly, and I should be able to look at you and already understand what you're going for. And I'm just happy that I'm able to relate to people, and people are be able to get into me based on my character. Because that's just what people. I don't know, man. That's what draws people in the most. Like when I was a kid and I heard oh old head take whatever, and when I started actually wrestling, I was like, oh, they're right. Like it really is the characters like that really draw people in. More than anything.
Oh, and like let's be realistic about it. Like on the independent circuit, like yes, social media is everywhere. YouTube, you can YouTube anything you want, but like how many people are actually going to bother to do that? Like
Yeah, yeah,
especially when we're dealing with like smaller and small town indie like wrestling things. Like yeah, you're going to have your regulars who come in, but like how many just people are like I'm bored. It's Saturday. Oh, look, here's something relatively cheap I can take my kids to for the most part. I mean, obviously, mileage varies with your promotion, but like, they're not doing the research to like find out what a Rullo is and like if and have to go through lore. But like, as you put it, like you walk through the curtain and you get a vibe check in some
yeah,
way, shape, or form.
yeah,
And like, and these people have like never seen you, and there's a chance like you may not actually work at that promotion again for a myriad of reasons, or the promotion just shuts down tomorrow because that's what indie wrestling does. And I think that is very important to like almost 10 10 15 seconds of entrance, like to get to pass that vibe check, whether I need to know whether to boo you, cheer you, and then come up with, I don't know, hopefully come up with something witty to yell at you if if you're a person I need to yell at.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks, like, again, like, I don't think they don't pass that vibe check instantly, and I gotta watch a match, and here's me being an old person, but like, I can almost like doing a tope suicide is not going to like wow, it doesn't wow me anymore because
Yeah, everyone
people,
does them. Yeah.
yeah, everybody between 5 foot and 7 foot does tope suicidas or does planches and or can do a moonsault, and so like you really do like, yeah, like, yes, you need that solid wrestling base to to work a decent match, but like I can go anywhere and find 7-star matches, 8 if we're in the Tokyo Dome, like even just on the indie circuit. Like what's going to stand out to me is you know guys who pass that vibe check. And again, like for me, blowing not just blowing smoke up your ass, but that was a vibe check, and which is also impressive because like I will put over Power Pro Lucha because a lot of their characters pass a vibe check. You kind of get a half an idea what's going on, like as soon as they come out of the curtain,
Yeah.
because everyone's pretty very well defined, and for you to stand out like even in that wacky world of wrestling, like I think is kind of a testament of like where you're going with the character.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy over there, a lot of crazy, whatever. But I will say it's like because there's a lot of guys, man, on the indies or in wrestling, whoever, who are just like kind of just like I like to say like I don't know, like a lot of guys are just kind of like wear tights and do moves, and then they can come out and have a cool good match, but then the next match comes out and also just wears tights and does moves, and you already kind of forgot about that guy. And it's weird, man. I think like what I've noticed on the indies is people, these fans, man, they remember, and like this is like I'm not trying to like wrestling is very very important to me, like bell to bell. I love being in the ring, and I want to have great matches, and like I really genuinely do. And that like me, that's like what I probably put the most emphasis on in general. But I will say, um, like at these shows, man, like these characters, they all like people that they remember are the ones with the characters they connect with more than anything. At least in my experience, that's what it's always been. Because like I said, the fans that come up to me and want to get pictures or whatever it is, they want it's like it's always because of the character. They think the character is really cool. So that's like something that I've noticed throughout wrestling. I just don't want to be you don't want to be known as one of the guys who just does moves. You know what I mean? Because those guys aren't remembered at all, really. At least in the long run, I don't think so. It's important to have a vibe.
No, as I say, like I fully agreed. I hate saying these things out loud because I hate sounding uber critical of either A, the independents, or B, wrestling in general, because like, dude, I have a wrestling podcast. I am a middle-aged man with a wrestling podcast. If I'm just going to spend, like, I don't want to be one of those podcasters who spend the entire time like shitting all over the industry, because I do truly love the industry and watch, participate in like way too much wrestling, and like, and no one wants to like see or listen to another like old man with terrible opinions about
Yeah,
like what wrestling should be. But like also like I'm going to put over the people, but I also want to well, this one, the point of the podcast is to have on those people that hopefully have passed the vibe check, or doing things that I at least find interesting on the scene,
yeah.
and hopefully like, I don't know,
I look,
by
man,
proxy lift everything up.
yeah, like wrestling is just like any other medium where there's going to be stuff you like and shit you don't like. Like shit you think is good, shit you think is not good. It's just any other medium, like music, film, anything, where there's stuff that connects with you and stuff you think is great, and then vice versa. So I would never say like not vibing with wrestling, not vibing with the match. Man, I'm just shitting on wrestling. No, it's just a part of wrestling you don't like. It's a whole thing. It's just like anything else.
And again, kind of tailoring back to where we were closer to the beginning, like wrestling is literally anything you can want it to be, and so there is way too much wrestling out there to settle for wrestling you don't like. And that is probably like the best thing to come out of like the streaming digital media age, is that if you're willing to put in the effort, like you can find anything you want, because Lord knows a question I get asked like behind the scenes way too way too much is, how did you find me? I'm like, dude, social media and wrestling are beautiful things when you use the powers for good. And
Absolutely, yeah.
like that's like, it's crazy go nuts like what can be made available to you with just either YouTube, or in my case YouTube and an IWTV subscription, or just some light social media stalking of seeing who your favorite wrestlers follow on social media as well.
Sure. Yeah, I mean,
But
I can't stand, dude. I can't stand being on social media. I'm gonna be so like honest with you. I really
oh
can't.
yeah.
Like, I just can't. Like, I try to do my best just to post my wrestling stuff when I need to, and then just like I do my best just to stay off it like completely. I mean, unless like I'm scrolling on TikTok and like I'm watching like funny videos, but other than that, man, like Instagram and Twitter and all that, I really just do my best just to stay away as much as I can because it's such a I can't stand it.
I've said before and I'll say it again. I would keep Facebook just to keep tabs on like old schoolmates that I have a still like parasocial relationship with. Like, no, we don't talk every day, but like to keep up on like some of the old, some of the older people I've met through the years. But like, other than that, if it wasn't for this here podcast and pretending to make a real go of it, I'd ditch all of social media because it's tends to be a cesspool for the most part.
Oh yeah, dude. If I wasn't wrestling, like forget it. Like I wouldn't even have like Twitter or Instagram would not be on my phone at all
Uh,
whatsoever.
but yeah, that's the thing. Like, and it's I think, and I think it's one of the like little things is like I think it's funny is like myself, and then by proxy like the wrestlers, like how much a lot of us abhor social media, and then go get into fields where by proxy like we kind of need the social media to get our names out there a wee bit, or help get our names out there, or get
Yeah.
messages or
No,
whatever.
I get it. It's a good tool and it's very important. And it's like it's probably gotten me most of my opportunities, but man, I still can't stand it. I cannot.
Uh, and when it comes to like stuff, especially with the wrestlers, like I'm impressed that like my DMs get answered at all. Like, just the horrible stuff that comes through the DMs, and the character limits. I'm not good with character limits because Lord knows I talk way too much, and putting that into 180 characters or less, it's a mo. But so many things to complain about how a society, but again,
Yeah.
like it's all, but if we can use them for at least good entertainment purposes, again, like that's it's how you can find cool wrestling stuff, or just hopefully find cool people in general. But
Yeah.
we'll take get off our soapboxes and kind of like take this opportunity to just kind of wind things down. Where can we? Well, speaking of the social medias, like where can we find you on social media to follow you, and like where can we find you in the next couple of weeks, whether in person or I guess streaming if necessary as well?
Um, Instagram is Rullo, but it's spelled RUL10 because Rullo was taken and the guy will give it back to me. And Twitter is RulloPW. I've recently started posting videos on TikTok. I don't know my TikTok handle by heart, but you can probably find it if you search my name. It won't be too hard. And I know this month I'll be at Labor of Love at the Philly Expo, which will be a lot of fun. Um, and that because I did it last year, man, and like I wrestled. It was like a 3 day thing, and John Cena was there one of the days, and I wrestled the day John Cena was there, so all the wrestling people were there, so the crowd was just fucking crazy. Um, I'm doing that this year, and that'll be sometime this month, I believe, and that'll be fun. So yeah, look out for that.
All right. And if I do my due diligence as a host, I usually try to throw in the links to at least the social medias in the episode description. Unfortunately, because of how like StreamYard and other, not just StreamYard, but other podcasting hosts go, you usually have to copy and paste. So hopefully, people know how to spell or can copy and paste and do that. But that being said, Rullo, thank you for coming on the show and talking about professional wrestling and your career and everything else in between. It's been a blast, man.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
The Confusion Wrestling Podcast is a weekly podcast that is written and performed by Rob Kammer and hosted by Spotify for podcasters. The background music for this section is Ruined by Day, performed by Alan Schroeder. If you enjoyed this podcast and would like to help support, please like, subscribe, and tell your friends, family, and enemies. Leaving a review is helpful as well, because word-of-mouth advertisement is very important for us small podcasts. My social media links can be found in the description, but Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky are at The Nova of Cass. That's TheNovaOfCass, and Facebook is MLW Confusion, all one word. If you'd like to support monetarily and help upgrade my equipment, please check out my virtual tip jar at ko-fi.com/Casanova, or if you prefer more bang for your buck, go to patreon.com/Casanova, that's CASSONOVA, where for as little as $2, backers get access to the podcast early and without those pesky ads, plus other exclusive content. So join the crew that is headed up by Keith Wynn, Alan Schroeder, Chris Zach, and Elenia, and check it out. You can also find t-shirts, coffee mugs, and other merch at the Confusion Podcast store on Teespring. Also, be sure to check out the affiliate links in the description below. For business inquiries such as ads, sponsorships, and etc., please email rzkamer, Kamerer, at comcast.net. Thank you all for listening.